Hey team, great to see all of you. This is a quick video just to refresh on how we find least common denominators and then how we use those least common denominators to create equivalent fractions that we can add together. So we're going to take a look at some slides that look really similar to the ones that you'll do on Google Classroom today so that we can practice what that looks like and you have a clear idea of what your job is. I'm going to share my screen, check it out. So on your Google Classroom assignment, there are two parts and they're going to be back to back for each question. In the first part, you're going to be using multiples of each denominator to find that least common denominator. And then the slide right after is going to show you how to use that least common denominator to actually add those fractions. So we're going to take a look at those parts and then you'll see the example that's given to you on your actual assignment. Okay, so here we go. This first question is asking us to find the LCD for these two fractions, 2/7 and 2/3. So if we want to circle our denominators, we know 7 and 3 are not the same number, right? These are unlike units. So we're going to use our multiples or our times tables of each number in order to find, well, what's the smallest number that they both have in common? What's the smallest number that's a multiple of both 7 and 3? Well, we're going to find out. So here we go. Let's do our times tables. I know 7 times 1 is 7. I know 7 times 2 is 14. Oops, 14. I know 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, I'm moving on to the 3's. And as I'm doing this, I can think, well, are any of these multiples divisible by 3? I know 7 can't be divided by 3. I know 14 can't be divided by 3. 7 times 3 is going to be a multiple of both of those. So if I don't find anything smaller than 21, then 21 is going to work. Okay, so we know 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2, 6. So far, nothing matches, right? We don't have anything that's the same in both columns. 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 5 is 15. Still no matches. 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 7 is 21. So in this case, the only thing that matches is this one where we multiplied the two denominators together, right? 7 times 3 is 21, and there's no smaller number that's the same. So we could circle these ones just to say, okay, well, these match. That means that our LCD, or least common denominator, is 21. So that's what I write in the box, right? The number that matches is your LCD. Okay, so sometimes we're going to have to go all the way up to like 3 times 7 to find one that matches. Let's take a look at one that doesn't require that. Here, oh, whoopsies, we're looking at 2/5 and 3/10. Okay, so as we start to list our multiples here, we can say, okay, well, 10 times 1 is 10. Now, if we were to ask ourselves that question, well, can 10 be divided by 5, right? Our other denominator is 5. And the answer is yes, right? 10 is already a multiple of 5. So we could keep going with these 10s. We could say, well, this one is already going to work. You know, 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 times 2 is 10. So already we found something that matches, right? We found that both of these can be multiplied by something to equal 10. So we would say in this case, our LCD is 10. Your LCD can be a denominator that is already in your problem, right? Because we can multiply 5 times something to make this match. Remember, that's our goal always, is to make like units. So this is our first part, right? Finding the least common denominator, and then we're going to use that on the second slide in order to solve the problem. So let's check that out. We're going to 2b here. And so at the top, you can see we have the same fraction that we had on the previous slide. We're still doing 2/5 plus 3/10. We already know that our LCD is 10, right? We solved that on the last slide. And so when we're making these equivalent fractions, we want to make sure that we're finding a new denominator of 10. 10 is going to be our new denominator. From here, I'm kind of like filling in this puzzle, right? I start on the bottom and it says 5 times blank equals 10. I know it takes 5 times 2, so I'm going to write 2 here. And I know that I'm multiplying by 1 whole because I don't want to change the value of my fraction. So if I multiply by 2 on the bottom, I have to multiply by 2 on the top also. 2 times 2 equals 4. And there I've made an equivalent fraction. 2/5 is the same as 4/10. And I can even fill that in here. 4/10 is going to be one of my fractions. And then let's do the same thing over here. 10 times blank equals 10. Well, we already have 10, right? So all I need to do is multiply by 1. This fraction is actually not going to change at all. I still want to keep 3/10, right? Because that already matches the denominator. We have 4/10 plus 3/10. And of course, when we add fractions with like units, our denominator stays the same. So we get tenths as our denominator, and 4 plus 3 equals 7 on top. So we would find a total of 7/10. All right, team. So when you go into that Google Classroom assignment, you're going to see slides that look exactly like this. The first 2 slides on, oops, I should clear this. The first 2 slides on the deck are examples, right? So in case you forget something that we went over here, you can always go back to those first 2 slides and look at another example that is done for you before you complete your work. Good luck today, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.